Welcome back to Sci-Fi Quest. This video will be a reaction to Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 2, Ad Astra per Aspera. I hope you enjoy, and please click that thumbs up icon, subscribe. I do have 24 subscribers of making this video. It would be nice to see more, and yeah, share if you like. You can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. You can find me on Discord and Patreon. Okay, so right off the bat, this appears that it might actually be about Una's court-martial, by the looks of it. So this one's going to be basically a courtroom drama, I'm assuming, but I could be wrong. We'll find out. That looks like a very nice cityscape, don't you think? I think that's a really nice one. Very, very futuristic, but they're not far off what we could build nowadays, to be honest. It's a good thing to see. So basically they're offering her a deal. Basically, plead guilty and we'll allow it to be a dishonorable dismissal. Doesn't seem right to me. Doesn't seem fair. But I mean, the fact that she's not even human would wouldn't that make her the law about genetic alteration or modification or something kind of invalid? Would it not? But essentially from what I could tell, they're offering her a deal because they want her to plead guilty to basically lying about her genetic alteration. But but they didn't even mention anything about the fact that she's not even human. She's not even human. She's an alien. But they just don't want to. They don't want to look bad to the rest of the Federation, by the sound of it, and that is a very, very political way to see it. To be honest, it's not really a political issue. So Pike has gone to the Mutera Nebula to seek counsel for Una. And it seems that the atmosphere is not suitable for human life, so he has to wear this mask. Interesting. So Pike manages to convince Nira, sorry, hiccups, to represent Una. Apparently they are friends. They were friends for a long time, and something happened between them. But we'll see. So basically what they're saying is because Illyrians are genetically modified, they can't serve in Starfleet. But what about the Federation? I mean, the Nobulans, they are, I'd assume, one of the founding members of the Federation. And if I remember Enterprise correctly, Flux even says that the Nobulans have used genetic engineering to cure diseases for centuries. So any Denobulan who had been ill with a disease or any kind of virus, because they were genetically engineered to overcome that illness or disease, then technically they would not be allowed to be members of the Federation. So, this is what I don't understand. Just because she's being charged with not declaring her genetic alterations, but there's nothing in what I've heard so far about the fact that she lied about being an Illyrian. They're just concerned about the genetic modifications, just because of the eugenics wars and stuff. So I don't understand why they would do this, especially in Strange New Worlds, because, like I said, there are species in the Federation that use genetic engineering and modify their people, their bodies, in order to survive illnesses, diseases, and environments. I mean, the Illyrians, they basically adapted themselves to be able to breathe an atmosphere that humans can't. So, I mean, it can't just solely be the fact that she failed to declare her genetically modified history. It's just, how did she get through the medical tests to get into Starfleet in the first place? And surely, after every year or so, they would be, as an officer in Starfleet, would they not be required to have tests done, medical checks? I don't understand what they're implying, as it were, because I mean, it's Star Trek, it's Starfleet, it's the Federation. Usually they're very, very accepting of species that have done genetic engineering in the past. But the fact that she belongs to a species that is known for using genetic engineering to change themselves physically and medically, it's not even that fact. The fact that she's Illyrian is not even in question. It's the fact that she lied about her genetics, which any medical check in that, with their technology would have shown that she's not human. Surely it would have shown that her DNA is Illyrian, or Illyrian, or however you pronounce it, because it would make sense. Don't you think? Comment down below if you think that this aspect of this episode is a bit, and this court case in the first place is a bit off, because there is a history of them accepting genetically engineered people. I mean, even before Dr. Bashir in DS9. So, and yes, I do realise that DS9 is hundreds of years in the future, but it's besides the point, because like I explained, Flux, Dr. Flux in Enterprise, his species, he tells them that they had genetic engineering to cure diseases, medical issues, physical abnormalities. It's like, well, isn't that the sort of thing that we, currently could do? We could use genetic manipulation to cure diseases if the money was there and people would accept it. Because like there are cases where people have say an ear. They need to replace an ear in current time. They've made a way that they can grow a human ear on the back of a rat and then transplant it back onto the person. That is crazy, but that is essentially genetic manipulation, genetic engineering. I mean, you're getting a rat to grow a person's ear to put a new ear on his head, essentially. So, I mean, genetic engineering, manipulation, that is something that is being questioned now by our, in our medical profession. Is it moral? Well, if it saves a life and cures diseases, yeah, it's a moral thing. If it's used to cause, to create a weapon of mass destruction, to manipulate the DNA or genes of people as a weapon, yeah, definitely immoral. But the morality outweighs the immoral, if you make sense. Because medically, wouldn't you want your body to be adjusted so that you don't have to suffer from, say, something as simple as arthritis? Where your joints ache all the time, and the temperature makes it worse. If it's cold, your joints hurt more. I mean, wouldn't you want to be adjusted? You want your genes to be changed so that you don't have to worry about the pain anymore, to cure it, get rid of it. I mean, that's something that is potentially, going to happen over the next, I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years or so. But there is something as simple as hair colour to remove the requirement for dyeing. You take a tablet, you go to sleep, you've got brown hair. The next morning, you can wake up and you've got bright purple hair. I mean, cosmetically, that would be incredible. Being able to change your DNA so that overnight, so that you wake up and your hair is a different colour. Obviously, it'd have to grow out, but it's the same thing, essentially, and it's something that they use as an example. You can change your eye colour, by taking a tablet or having an injection. Why wouldn't you? I don't understand why they do it. I know the history in Star Trek is the eugenics war, but that's different. I mean, they were physically created. They weren't born people. They were, they were basically genetically engineered, not adapted or changed. They were built that way in the first place. So, it's just the fact that they would do this to a decorated officer in Starfleet is crazy. This is insane. Look at the size of Pike's quarters. They are enormous. Absolutely enormous. Now, that kind of space would be at a premium on a starship. Seriously. I mean, I think they even referenced that in Orville, don't they, where the captain's quarters has an upstairs and a downstairs. It's on 2 decks. It's crazy. But I mean, Captain Pike's quarters, it's like, that's bigger than where I live. I live in a bungalow, which is a small house. It's basically a small house, 1 floor. And it's perfectly fine for me. But I mean, you could probably fit my bungalow in that set. It's absolutely insane, and that's supposed to be on a starship. Anyway, that's a bit nitpicky, so I apologise if you think that's nitpicky, but it's a fact. So we find out that her boss, the judge advocate of Starfleet, has basically taken an interest in this case, and she doesn't know why. She doesn't know why. So there's something specific. There is a specific reason why they're doing this. Otherwise, it might just be a reprimand or something like that, just something on her permanent record, and adjusting her records to say that she's an Illyrian, she's been genetically altered. So why is there a specific reason that they're looking into it? I mean, she even said that she doesn't know why, but he has an interest in the case, which is a bit odd. So just before we get to the actual opening credit sequence, they petitioned to change the charges to have a sentence that would include dishonourable dismissal and 20 years in a penal system. So 20 years in prison just for falsifying the information on your records. Yeah, that seems a bit over the top. It's a bit overkill, don't you think? So here's another thing. Laan Minion Singh has a history where she is actually genetically altered, or is related, or is a few generations outside of the genetically engineered eugenics. So she has a direct link to the eugenics wars. So the question I have is, they know that she is genetically altered, right? I'm pretty sure we covered that. So what's their issue with Una? Or number one, I should say. It's frustrating, to be honest. So this is Admiral Robert April, former commander, or former captain, I should say, of the Enterprise. And Una served under him. Okay, so this is an older captain of the Enterprise. Was it the same Enterprise or the previous iteration? Because most likely was an Enterprise before the Constitution, and in between the Constitution and the NX-01. I wonder what that Enterprise would have looked like. I'm pretty sure there would have been. I mean, it is, well, 100, well, it's got to be almost 100 years at least, hasn't it? It's got 100 years between between Strange New Worlds and Enterprise. 100, 200 years, something like that. I can't remember. But, I mean, it's a long time, so how many Enterprises would there have been in between? I'm curious. I don't know. I might have to look that up at some point, because it's an interesting thought. Comment down below if you know how many Enterprises there were between Strange New Worlds and NX-01. Because I'm interested to find out. Because there is a big gap there, and I'm pretty sure there would have been at least 2 or 3 ships that would have had the name. At least 2 or 3 ships that would have had the name Enterprise. If, you know, probably more. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do and, you know, what they look like. Interesting thought. Okay, so it looks like there would have been 84 years between the scuttling of the NX-01, that would be the refit from Enterprise, so which happened in 2261, and the Constitution class that we know of, that we all know and love. So it would have been about 84 years. So the Enterprise was scuttled in 2161 originally, the NX-01, and then the Constitution that we have in Strange New Worlds would have been commissioned in 2245, so 84 years. So in those 84 years, there wasn't an Enterprise? I'm pretty sure there would have been. I mean, it's nearly 100 years, so I would have thought there would be at least 1, possibly 2 other ships. That's bearing in mind that in maritime ways, like the Navy, ships usually don't last more than 30 years. So I reckon there would have been at least 1, possibly 2 other Enterprises between the NX-01 and the NCC-1701 Constitution Enterprise. It'd be interesting to find out, because I don't see them mothballing the name for 84 years. It wouldn't make sense because it's a memorable name. It's an important name for Starfleet and the Federation. So I'm pretty sure there would have been another one before this, before the Constitution. That'd be interesting to find out. So we find out that Nira has a ulterior motive for taking the case on. She wants to try and change or remove the law about genetic alteration. Okay. Bit of a annoying thing to include in this, but it makes sense, to be honest. Okay, so this is going to be a bad part because this is where this is what I don't like about modern Trek. It's messing with canon, kind of. I mean, this is just touched on canon, and not gently, quite hard, because she's literally just asked La'an, after saying her name, La'an Nunyan Singh, any relation to Khan Nunyan Singh? And La'an replies, yes. So, I mean, is that just fan service? Because it has to be, because they've just pushed hard on canon. I mean, yes, he would be a historical character, but that would be for a historian to know. I mean, but the fact that they know that she's related to him would basically mean that she has, as a result of his genetically modification, she has a permanent genetic alteration, which is the whole point of them bringing it up in this case. It's just that they're just finding ways to just mess with the case and mess with canon. I mean, in the story, I don't see what relevance that has to the story apart from the fact that that she is related to Khan. I hate it when they do that. I really do. It's really annoying. It really is. Okay, so at this point, I've just taken it back a couple of seconds, but they basically asked the question of all the witnesses, did they ever get the sense that Una was actually hiding anything? And La'an says no. And Benga says no. When it comes to Spock, he says, did you ever get the sense that Una was hiding anything? And then Spock goes, yes. And then all just, oh my god, they're like, what? And then he turns to Una, looks at her, and says, an affinity for Gilbert and Sullivan music. And then she laughs and looks away. Oh, that's a callback to the first series. Sorry, I realise I said series, but that's actually the shorts that they did before. It's one of the shorts where they sing in the turbo lift. I was about to say elevator. But essentially, they are the same thing. The plot thickens. So we find out that La'an was afraid that she might have been the one responsible. That somehow her personal log had been the cause of it, and we see it takes I think they said 6 months to subpoena the personal logs of a Starfleet crew member. So we find out that it hasn't been that long. So I mean, it's been at least 3 months, give or take a few days, since the end of season 1, so it kind of makes sense. So someone is trying to get rid of her, possibly to further her career, or his career, I should say, their career, which I would believe, actually, because if someone believed that Una was standing between them and a promotion, then yeah, I could understand that someone would have leaked that information to try and get rid of her. It kind of makes sense. It is a manipulative technique that exists in the real world as well. People trying to get rid of someone so that they can better their careers or personal life. So, yeah, that is very interesting, and I can't wait to find out if that is what happened and who did it. Ah, wow. So, no one actually turned her in or leaked the fact that she's Illyrian to Starfleet. She turned herself in. She basically told Starfleet herself that she was an Illyrian. Well, that's a revelation. I wasn't expecting that. Is it possibly she wanted this to happen? But let's see what they say to that. The fact that she turned herself in. Seriously? He's going to go after Pike now? He's asking when Pike found out about. Oh my god. What is he trying to make it bigger than it actually is? That's just ridiculous. That doesn't sound very Vulcan to me. That sounds Romulan. I would seriously consider the fact that he could actually be a Romulan, not a Vulcan, because a Romulan would be able to pass as a Vulcan no matter what. I mean, as far as I'm aware, physically they're the same. So they were trying to go after Captain Pike for knowing about Luna's Illyrian. For 3 months, he knew and didn't tell Starfleet, and they were going to go in after him for that. And then Nira hands the Uniform Code of Justice book over and asks her to read out a certain part, and it's a part that actually it shows under that section that it's captains are allowed to provide sanctuary to anyone prosecuted, and in case of prosecution, provide sanctuary and protection. So basically, she has just won the case by using the Uniform Code of Justice, which is the same set of laws that they were using to charge her in the first place. There's actually a section there that provides protection for from prosecution and stuff. So, I mean, I think and most countries have that kind of a law in reality as well. But it's just the fact that that's it. That's case should be thrown out right there and then. It's at the captain's discretion. Okay, I've just gone back a little bit because this image in the background is interesting. That is definitely the NX-01, but there's a slight difference. Sorry, the cat's meowing, but there are slight differences. I want it. That must be the refitted version, right? It makes sense. Okay, all right. Get back to where I was. Is he smiling? It looks like he's smiling. Hmm. Interesting. Um. Yeah, he definitely looks like he's smiling. Okay, so now this would be the suspenseful part, the part that keeps you waiting and thinking, what's going to happen. Now they can't find her guilty of anything because she was in fear of prosecution, prejudice, in fear for her life, and that's that's a fact. And then she turned herself in so that they could confirm her sanctuary status. And I can't see them deciding any other way. I can't see them finding her guilty of anything, to be honest, because you can't use one law to overrule another, really, can you? To be honest. Yeah, there she is. Cleared of all charges, and sanctuary has been approved, which is great. We knew that it was going to go that way. It couldn't go any other way. Fact. Okay. Okay, so that was the end of the episode, and I have to say, it was interesting. I was never really a fan of these courtroom episodes of any sci-fi show, to be honest. Or not many shows that I actually enjoy courtroom stuff, but this was interesting. It wasn't that bad. Um, so, okay, yeah, no problem. So, if you like this video, please click the thumbs up, subscribe if you want to, and yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook. You can find me on Discord and on Patreon. All the links will be in the comments in the description below. So if you like this video, please, yeah, keep watching. I enjoy these videos. I enjoy making them. And until next time.